since the Piłsudski elite had been in power in Poland up until 1939, and then they were considered to have failed miserably to defend the country in 1939. The Polish government in exile, the Polish Home Army, was very much in control of the opposition to Piłsudski. So he himself was viewed as a little bit of an outcast, but he had too much experience to be able to be ignored. But if we go back to his earlier years, apart from being this ideologue, being one of the closely aligned men with Józef Piłsudski, he was also an excellent artist, a painter, and he had excellent contacts with the rest of the Polish cultural and artistic elite. He was also a great writer. So you could say that he was an artist, a politician, and also somebody who excelled in underground activity. Very early on, during the Polish Bolshevik War, the Polish-Soviet War of 1919-1920, having been brought up in Kiev, knowing that region very well, having good relations with Ukrainians, once Piłsudski signed an alliance with Semyon Petlura, the head of the Ukrainian People's Republic, this early state that was created immediately after the First World War. Initially, there was some fighting between the Poles and the Ukrainians. There were actually two states that were created, the Western Ukrainian People's Republic and the Ukrainian People's Republic. The Western Ukrainian People's Republic fought against the Poles in the region of Lviv. They considered the Poles as their main rivals due to geography being located much closer to the Poles, while the Red Army was a distant threat far away that the Ukrainian People's Republic, headquartered in Kiev, had to deal with instead. The Poles, nevertheless, defeated the Western Ukrainian People's Republic. The Western People's Ukrainian Republic temporarily or briefly formed a united state with the Ukrainian People's Republic, meaning that the Ukrainian People's Republic inherited the war and had to join in as well. However, they never really fought against the Poles. There was quickly a ceasefire later signed with that state, and after some negotiations, the Poles and the Ukrainians under Ataman Semyon Petlura formed a political and military alliance in order to together fight against the Soviet Union. And this is where Józefski's expertise became very valuable. He organized a lot of military intelligence networks in the area, and he became one of two Poles that became ministers in the Ukrainian People's Republic. So once the war effort started faring not as well as it has previously, because the Poles and the Ukrainians managed to launch a joint offensive and take the Kiev area together, including the capital city, naturally. They were pushed back, and the government of the Ukrainian People's Republic had to relocate from Kiev to the Polish city of Tarnów, where Petlura and Józefski were stationed together. In the end, the Poles and the Ukrainians, they fought on. Nevertheless, the Ukrainian armies, you could say, melted away with the failure of the Kiev offensive. And there was still a dozen thousand Ukrainian soldiers or so that fought together on the side of the Poles, but it wasn't that large uprising that the Poles had hoped for, that hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians would be recruited and fight for the Ukrainian People's Republic. So once the war was over, the Poles, they managed to push the Red Army back from Warsaw. They managed to take back territories in Belarus and in what is today Ukraine. However, they didn't reach as far east as they had hoped, and it was impossible to create a large enough Ukrainian independent state that would be able to survive on its own.
Adam, as usual, the clock in the corner of the room has defeated us. I'm going to have to ask you to pause there, but we will pick it up next time. I've had to ask Adam to pause, but fear not, if you join us next time on Poland Daily History, as we hope you will, we'll pick up the story. Until then, thank you very much for watching.